Hello guys, you're welcome to the next episode of Learn from Chess Blitz, the show that gives you an opportunity to learn something new about chess while playing against me. So, if you are new to this show, we are playing on lichess.org. You can find me there by the nickname Mostrovsky, and I prefer 5 minutes. So, I can see that somebody also joined the live chat already. It's X. Hello. So please tell me what is going on to this sound and to the picture. If you see it already, will be very helpful. And we're going to start. So there is already first challenge. Very nice. Thanks a lot for attending in time. And this Monday edition of the show gradually becomes the day of different experiments, and Azure Mist is also here. Hey, my friend. So today I will just try to play something slightly unusual. So I will just come up with some experiments, mainly in the opening stage. So it is kind of going outside the comfort zone. So just to make it harder for me to make decisions, which means that I will spend more time probably, and it will increase your chances to win, most likely. Anyways, let's see how it works. Here we go, here we start. So the first challenger is Archie77. So, accept, and let's see what will happen. So I have white pieces, and this makes it easier for me to experiment, probably starting from the move number 1. So let's play b3. So here is Scott TK. Hi Andre, hope you're doing well. Yeah, I'm doing not that bad. Okay, b3 e6. What does it mean? It means that black doesn't occupy the center with the e5, which makes it just logical to continue with the bishop b2, controlling this long diagonal. And now my bishop controls d4 and e5 squares, and black's bishop is kind of limited with own pawns, which is not bad for b3 on the first move. So knight f3 looks natural. Knight f6. All right. So it feels like sort of Queen's Indian defense reversed. So I have kind of extra tempo. For instance, if black plays c7, c5 now, it is definitely one of the lines of Queen's Indian defense, but with changed colors, right? Which is not that bad, actually. Okay. So the point behind white's setup is to control center with pieces mainly, not with pawns. So as we may notice, bishop b2 and knight f3 control both d4 and e5 squares. So I don't want to occupy the center with a d pawn, for example, playing d4. I will probably stick to d3 move at some point, controlling e4 additionally. Now bishop b4. I don't quite get the idea behind this move, maybe to prevent me from playing d4, but anyway, I don't want to play d4, so a3. Just asking the bishop, what are you doing here, brother? Bishop goes back to d6. Okay, so this is kind of disappearing move. Black could have played bishop d6 immediately. What is the difference? b3 is slightly weakened now, but I don't think it is really important. Can I use this extra tempo and go wild slightly? I don't know if it gives me anything, so the normal continuation will be just bishop e7 and castling, or maybe d3, knight e2, but I want to try this g4. Why? Because it is Monday, so the time of experiments. The point is that if knight g4, then I take on g7, or maybe start with rook g1, and then take on g7 even with the rook, which looks interesting, but knight e7 immediately, just going away. That is strange. All right, let's grab the pawn. So the question, wasn't a transposition possible to either Nimzo, Lars, or King's Indian attack? And there are a lot of different transpositions, to be honest, after b3. So there are different setups that white can try, for example, with the pawn on c4, without the pawn on c4. So sometimes it leads to a hedgehog or reversed. So rook g8, bishop is under attack. Let's go away. I think b2 is just a normal position for the guy. And knight b6, I definitely expected rook takes g4, to be honest. Just regaining the pawn, because now I have an extra pawn and I don't see the compensation. So let's play g5, protecting the pawn and also controlling f6 square, which is important. It can become just a great outpost for my pieces. And the comment from Azure Mist, g4 should be played on move 1. Maybe I will do it later on. So now I have to come up with the further development. What about just bishop d3? An interesting move. Attacking h7, but after bishop d3 there could be something like e6, e5. And then if I take on h7, rook goes to h8, but I can play even g6 there. That will be an experiment. That will be interesting. So let's try it. I don't know. h7 is under attack now. And come on guys, you're welcome to make a challenge, because I can't see any challenges except for the one that I already accepted against Archie. So please. Did you come to watch or did you come to play? You can combine these great activities. So you can play a game and then watch. Or you can do everything simultaneously. That is also a possibility. So we are quite flexible here. Everything that you want, well, almost everything can be done. And here's the challenge. I do like this. So f5, protecting pawn h7, but I can take en passant or en passant. I don't know what is the correct pronunciation. So something closer to the second one, I do believe. Wow, here is new subscriber. That is very nice. Okay, 2 challenges more. So now let's take this. So how many pawns did I already capture? A lot, right? And now it gives me extra exchange if I want to take on f6. But do I want to take on f6? I'm not quite sure. Because it may be risky to weaken position. And position is definitely weakened after that. On the other hand, last time I decided not to take the exchange in the game against Azure Mist, and I was almost punished for it. No, let's take it. Let's see. Now the rook on a1 is hitting, so let's put the knight on c3. Continuing the development and protecting the rook simultaneously. Okay. Alright, Azure Mist says en passant without pronouncing the T. Still doesn't give me any idea of how it is pronounced. So en passant or en passant? How? En passant. Just tell me. So e5. Okay, there is bishop g4 threat. So I'd like to make this move, right? Alright. Maybe it's better for you to make a recording and send it to me at some point. Okay, bishop g6 wins the queen. A lot of blunders, my friend. A lot of blunders. So now I have extra queen. And you know what? I'm going to convert it. Knight e7, attacking the rook. Let's go away. There are a lot of possible squares to occupy. But maybe it was not a good idea in the sense of giving my opponent the chance to occupy g4. On the other hand, I can play rook h8. And what? If king goes to d7 or f7, I have knight takes e5. In both cases, after rook takes a8, probably. So, yeah, it's absolutely lost position. So let's have a look quickly on this strange game. So b3. In my opinion, it is better to stick with e7, e5. Honestly, just limiting the bishop in advance, because after b3, bishop definitely goes to b2. But e6 followed by d5 is absolutely playable approach. The only thing that after this, I don't think that bishop b4 makes any sense. It's better to try bishop e7 castling and only after that to see what is going on. Alternatively, it is also possible to play slightly more aggressive chess after c5 and knight c6, intending to play d4 if there is a chance. So this bishop b4 is okay, a3, okay, bishop goes to d6, so that was more or less fine. After g4, I think there was nothing wrong with just taking this pawn. So knight takes g4. If I take on g7, rook g8, just kicking the bishop and then continuing the development. If I play rook g1, I won't be terribly surprised if even knight takes h2 is possible here. But if it is not very interesting for you to play, you can try something like simple knight f6, I guess, after rook takes g7. There are a lot of different possibilities, including just, knight e7 maybe, or maybe rook g8. There are a lot of different things to do. So, after this, bishop g7, rook g8, and bishop goes away, it was possible just to take on g4, I guess. Again, I don't think there is something wrong with that. So I have a discovered attack, of course, my knight can jump somewhere. But I don't achieve anything because black at the moment doesn't have a lot of weaknesses. So after knight b6 and g5, of course, white's position is already much better because white has extra pawn. Position on the king side is very exposed. I have a lot of targets, and the rest was just the series of blunders. So, anyways, let's keep playing. We already have 7 challenges. So let's see. A lot of different possibilities. Let's start with 5 times. Interesting nickname, by the way. So, 5 times. What are you going to play? e4, d4, c4, or just b3? Alright, e4. So, let's keep experimenting with this development of the bishop on b7 or b2. Knight c3, bishop b7. Bishop c4, okay, e6. Still makes sense to limit the activity of the guy on this diagonal. And after d4, well, I'm not quite sure about f7, f5. I saw this position only from white's perspective once. But there is definitely something interesting after bishop b4, just pinning the knight c3 and attacking e4 pawn. 5 times is not premium. Oh, come on. Anyways, knight goes to e2. It was a kind of joke because when I do live streams on Chess24 every Friday, I play only against premium members. So, knight e2. I have a feeling that I can simply grab the pawn on e4. So let's do it. Castles. And again, I have a strange feeling that I can simply go back to b7. There is also an interesting opportunity for me now to change the direction. So to put the bishop somewhere in g6 also makes sense maybe. But I can't see a problem at the moment with this bishop b7. The bishop was hanging. Hold horses. Says glory to Ukraine. Great, my friend. Thanks a lot for this support. So d5. Okay. This makes sense, of course, but it doesn't necessarily create a threat. So I can simply keep developing my pieces. So knight f6. Bishop g5. Alright, let's go away with the bishop from b4. I think it is a vulnerable position. On e7 it looks much more natural. And also after that my position feels much safer. So now what? To take with the pawn d7 and exchange queens, or at least to try to exchange queens, or to take with the f7 pawn with the idea of playing the middle game stage and then maybe trying something like d7, d5, playing aggressive in the center. I think both are playable, and I'll just try this one. Takes. Takes with the bishop. So everything is more or less protected. Now the question, should I play castling here? If I castle, there is something like bishop takes e6, pawn takes e6, but then there is no even this fork because I can exchange queens, right? So let's just castle. Knight takes e6 is also nothing. I just recapture, queen d8, rook d8. Okay, bishop e6, king h8. There is nothing. No compensation. And now there is a threat of just taking on c3 and taking the knight on f4. Knight on f4 is under attack. And I have pair of bishops now, which is great. Which is great. Okay, now I have extra minor piece. Now I just exchange queens, right? Why not? And my rook is hanging, at the same time c7 is hanging. I think it is a good moment to be as greedy as possible and just protect the pawn c7 going away from the attack at the same time. Why not? There is nothing wrong with that. Of course, my pieces are placed ugly, but this is just a minor issue and a temporal thing, so. Knight b5, attacking c7 one more time. I guess it is a good moment to make one more ugly move. Knight a6, still protecting the pawn. And now I'll gradually improve my position. For example, after rook d7, I can see a great possibility to grab some additional material. Bishop c6, attacking both the rook and the knight. Knight takes c7, bishop takes the rook. And now knight takes on a8. I have a possibility to take both knights here. And the choice is very simple because knight a8 has no moves. And this guy on e6 has a chance to go away. So I will capture this one first to win literally everything. It's lost. Alright, so let's have a look at this game. Once again, e4, b6. When I play this with white, well, I actually don't know this theory whatsoever. So I usually play something really simple like d4, and after bishop b7, since the pawn is still on e7 and there is no possibility of check on h4 or something, white can simply play f3. Very solid move, And then I just develop my pieces the way very close to, for example, Perk. I mean, when you play against Perk. So you play bishop to e3, then queen to d2, then maybe knight to c3, castle here, and so forth. So it's very hard to actually come up with a refutation of this setup because it is very solid and very healthy. So you control the center very well. You occupied already the center with 2 pawns. Now it's time to support these pawns. And since black has some counterplay based on the vulnerability of the e4 mainly, it makes real sense, good sense, great sense to play f3 just to support it with the pawn, because the best defender is usually the pawn. The most efficient defender is usually a pawn. So after what we played, bishop c4, e6, we may notice that now playing something like f3 will be already not that pleasant because of queen h4 check, weakening your position or forcing you into a bad position and so forth. So d4 is okay, but after bishop b4, you have to decide what to do with the pawn e4. Now it's hanging, and I guess that you already have some problems with protecting it. Most likely d5 was interesting here, but I still have this great counterplay against your center because your knight is pinned. So even if you play d5, I just play knight f6, for instance, attacking everything here in the center. And at very least, I have some initiative because I simply make developing moves, and each and every move is a tempo move. So I get some sort of initiative and maybe even complete my development first. So after knight e2, I just took the pawn, and after that, well, it's already the position with the extra pawn, so no problems. I just started the stage of conversion, all right? Okay. If you want to increase your number of subscribers, play Bullet. Chess spectators love it. And another comment, Bullet is not instructive. So that's true. Both actually make sense. And I think that maybe in the future I will try some Bullet. Of course, it won't be dedicated to telling you something new about chess. It won't be dedicated to actually making you better players. I mean, my viewers. So probably it will be just kind of show. We will see. But first I have to train, of course, because when I play Bullet, I play real crap. Anyways, let's go further. Here is another challenge. Let's play Meet Me There. So here we go. And black pieces again. So meet me there. I think I met you already, but doesn't feel like you are online, but now you are. Okay, c4. So very hard to experiment against c4, but let's try something like this. So just to try to play something like Dutch, and it's interesting. So knight c3, knight f6, we kind of have a mirror somewhere between the E and D file. So d4. Now unfortunately I can't play e5. Well, of course I can, but it's probably not good. So we actually have a transposition to Dutch. There are usually two options as far as I remember, because I've never played it, but I saw a lot of games. So e6, bishop e7, and slightly later something like b6 maybe. And it will be something very, very close to Queen's Indian defense. But with the pawn already on f5, which maybe or maybe not a big advantage for black, can be also just a weakening of the position. And there is also something like g6, bishop g7, d6, and so forth. So let's play g6. So if I play bishop g7, castles, and d6, it is a so-called Leningrad system, as far as I remember. One of the most prominent players is Kramnik. He doesn't play it anymore, but he used to. So knight f3, okay, bishop goes to g7. So the point is just to castle, to play d6, then knight d7, and then to prepare e7, e5, something like this. There is usually a huge problem with the e6 square if white plays correctly. But bishop g5, well, maybe. It makes sense. We will see what white is going to do. New subscriber, thanks a lot. Bishop takes f6. Alright, that was something that I didn't expect. So experimenting, right? Of course, the automatic decision would be bishop takes f6, because pawn takes f6 is just ugly. It makes the pawn structure worse. There is also rook takes f6, which looks interesting. So after rook f6, let's say e4, which looks like a natural follow-up of this capture on f6. I take on e4, knight takes e4, and now my rook can go to b6, attacking b2. All of a sudden. Does it make sense? I don't know. I can simply lose my rook there. So it will be kind of very bad experiment. So rook f6, e4 takes, rook goes to b6, for instance even c5. Rook takes b2, queen c1, and the rook is very short of space. No, doesn't work. So let's take with the bishop. e4, all right. Now there is a choice between taking on e4 or playing d6, actually protecting the pawn on f5, but giving white a chance to play e5. Okay, I'll try this d6, because I think that if white plays e5 here, I will have good chances just to undermine all these guys along diagonal h8, a1. So at first glance it looks like a very good option for white, but in fact, having no this dark squared bishop, there will be a problem with dark squares later on, and this e5 will actually create an object of attack for me. So let's see. Let's see. So probably my opponent exactly thinks of this e5. Looks tempting, but I don't think it is that great. In fact, it may easily backfire very soon. And after d6, I'm more or less prepared to play c7, c5, let's say, at some point. Okay, e5 after all. So bishop g7. And now I do want to play c5, undermining this d4 pawn. So if there is no knight on c3 and still a possibility to support d4 with the c3 pawn, I would say that probably e5 is completely playable. But now, I'm afraid that after c5, white will just end up without center. Okay, e takes d6. I can also take on d6 simply, but it feels like I can start with the c takes d4. I don't know what is better for me. C takes d4, knight goes to b5. I can try even e5. That will be something interesting. Of course, I do believe that e takes d6 is a correct move. Queen takes d6 is absolutely playable here. But it also looks very tempting to experiment this way. So cd4, knight b5, e7, e5, knight c7, queen d6, knight takes a8, e4 then. Let's try, this looks fun. That is what I wanted to do, so check. And now I have some space after knight goes to e2. This pawn on d4 is already a passed pawn, which is also good. The only issue is my light squared bishop, so it looks really passive at the moment. Oh, king f1, seriously? What is that? I'll just take this. Thank you. So, all the games I've played so far were just full of blunders. Full of blunders, so my opponents are very generous today. Don't know why. Maybe my opening choices just make them nervous. Don't know the reason, but there's definitely a possibility to play knight e2, protecting the knight and the king simultaneously. Alright. There was maybe a possibility for me to play queen b4, but then queen d2, so white is safe there. And queen e2 was suggested instead of knight e2. In this case, there could be a problem with queen b4 move. We'll discuss it very soon. So I think that exactly knight e2 was the only option. The only playable move in that position. Because now I'm just winning easily with the extra minor piece. So let's get to this moment. First of all, I don't think that this plan is very promising. After e4, okay, I just played d6 just like I did. I can also take on e4 and go away with the bishop. I think there I will also have sufficient counterplay. So definitely my king side becomes quite vulnerable because of this g6 pawn and the absence of the knight on f6, but still I have some interesting counterplay in the center, I guess. And here this e5 in my opinion is just dubious because now I have this c7, c5, very natural way of undermining white's pawns. And since there is no pawn being able to protect d4 from c3 square, I will definitely get rid of both. d4 and e5 position will become open, and my bishop g7 at least will start exerting real pressure on white's position. And hopefully I will also activate my light squared bishop later on. So bishop d3, c5, e takes d6, c takes d4. So here I expected knight b5 as the most testing reply, because there is a threat of knight c7. Queen a5 gives me nothing because knight is protected on b5. If I take on d6, then for example knight takes d4 is possible immediately, or it's better to do this after castling, I think, because d4 won't go away. Sooner or later it will be just captured, I guess. But maybe I just underestimated my position when thought of this possibility during the game, because after knight c6 I just protected and I can't see a clear way for white to grab it back, because I also have queen f6 resource, just protecting it additionally just in case white goes away with the bishop. So maybe it's not that simple to regain it, and if white takes immediately on d4, then after rook e8 there are some problems with the king already, and also this diagonal becomes open, so I will just attack this knight after knight c6 and exert some pressure, just using dark squares mainly, because white doesn't have a dark squared bishop anymore. It's clear. Don't know, maybe it was good, but for black I mean, but I wanted to play something absolutely different. So after knight b5 I was going to try this e5 move, giving white a chance to play knight c7, and after queen d6, knight a8, white is currently up a rook. But after e4 I just win one of the pieces, and this knight on a8 maybe not that great in general, but maybe I just lose something after c5, queen c5, then queen b3 check, quickly developing all the pieces and actually having the extra material. So most likely, according to my feeling, that was not correct. Maybe black had a compensation, but not sufficient. And it was better for me just to stick with e takes d6 here without risk, just exerting some pressure. But okay, d7, queen e7. So here the guys in chat suggested queen e2 with the idea of queen takes e2, knight takes e2. So the queen is under attack, but here queen b4 is possible, pinning the knight. And if white wants to save the knight, a3 is forced, which already leads to some weakening of the position. I don't know if I can actually exploit it somehow quickly, but it may be simply very hard. Okay, I just found another idea. After queen e2, it is possible to make a very annoying move, queen to d8, for example. Look at this. So I just go away, I just go back, the knight is hanging, and there is a threat of rook e8. That is probably just winning, I think. So yeah, without problems. So I definitely come up with the extra material. So by the way, moves like that, I mean, going back with the piece which was just activated, are definitely not that easy to spot. So psychologically, it is just counterintuitive, right, to go with the queen to a passive position right after it was activated. But in this particular case, it is probably the best move, attacking the knight, so double attack, and creating sort of rook e8, winning some material. I guess that's why queen e2 is not a move, and after all, this knight e2 was the best option. And then castling and so forth. With an interesting position, I think black has slight edge here, and well, has some great chances to exert pressure, but it's definitely a playable position, and that was white's best choice, right? So I was thinking of queen b4, a3, queen a5 before queen d8, but queen d8 right away may even be better. That is exactly what I was thinking of. So queen b4, a3, I started calculating the line, so queen a5 before queen d8, and once I understood this queen b8 is possible, I decided why not to play queen d8 immediately, right? So let's go further. Okay, Baster, Azure Mist, Ali, Rojito. Let's play Rojito. I think we will have the time for all the challengers today. And again, black pieces. So I'm running out of ideas how to experiment. Of course, just a joke. There are so many different possibilities. Okay, e4. So I've already played b6, right? Yeah, so b6 is no longer interesting, at least for now. So what else? a6. Let's try a6. Zweifelsex says c6. All right, maybe I will play c6 later. So d4. Now it's possible to play b5, but it will be too much. So I will start with e6 move. By the way, it was also interesting to play g6, and there could be a transposition to modern defense, some of the lines. Anyways, now I think I can play b5. Let's try. Bishop d3, very natural setup. So white just develops the pieces and occupies the center. Okay, it can't be bad. 100%, it can't be bad. Now c5, or to start with knight f6. I think I'll start with knight f6. So now if white plays e5, I have d5 square, and c4 is prevented with this pawn b5. So my opening setup also makes sense so far. So I guess bishop e7 should be played. Just developing the piece and preparing castling maybe. At some point I can consider d7, d5 followed by knight e4 if white plays e5. It could be possible to play d5 instead of bishop e7, I guess, but, well, I prefer slightly more solid things. So if the rook is already on e1, I prefer having the bishop on e7 to cover the e-file and to be ready to castle if necessary. All right, what to do now? Let's play h6 and ask the bishop the natural question. The question, does Andre play rated or non-rated games? I think that I play rated games. So, at very least, I guess it depends on which sort of challenge do you make. So if you make the rated challenge, then it is a rated challenge. What need to play against Andre? Don't quite get the question, to be honest, because there could be different meanings of this phrase. So bishop h4, what to do now? Just a castle, I think, right? Right, let's castle. Knight bd2. Still having c3 as an opportunity, as an option. Very smart, because if I play c5, maybe it makes sense for white to come up with the c3. But I think I will play c5 anyway. Maybe right now, maybe a bit later. The question is, why not right now? Or maybe it makes sense to start with the d5. After d5, e5, we have strange version of French. And there will be an exchange of dark square bishop, which may be or maybe not that great for black. Let's try something more flexible. Let's start with the d6, knight d7, and then we will see. Yeah, interesting position. c3. Okay, knight d7. Queen c2. And look at this. If I play e5 now, it will be something like Ruy Lopez. Come on, what a transposition. Fantastic. Just a fantastic thing. I mean, this game. Chess. So I will play e6, e5, why not? So, amazing. I didn't intend it. It just happened, accidentally. And for Ruy Lopez, I think this position of the bishop on h4 is quite strange, because it gives me an opportunity to exchange this bishop very soon with the help of knight h5, for example. Of course, there are some issues with the b5, but I think I can solve the things with the c6. The question, Andre, in which case as black would you accept an exchange of the dark squared bishop? In this particular case, well, almost at any moment when it is possible, because this bishop is quite bad, usually. So for example, right now, I guess I have a good opportunity to try to get rid of this guy. The help of knight h5, just offering the exchange already. Okay, so bishop e7, queen e7. I'm happy I got rid of this idiot on e7. Well, sometimes it is possible, of course, to reactivate this guy, but it takes time usually. And since white doesn't have the access to d6 square here, I think there is absolutely nothing wrong with this exchange. Okay, now, what to do now? Knight b6 looks interesting, but then a5. Knight on h5 is stupid, so let's put it on normal position. Knight f4. If g3, then probably knight e6 closer to the center, creating some pressure. So my light squared bishop is not looking fine at the moment according to chat. That's true. That's true. But after exchange of dark squared bishops, at least I have some play on dark squares. Now it's easier for me to exert pressure on squares like f4, d4, and so forth. And this guy will be exchanged for that one on f1. If I'm lucky enough, of course. We will see. Okay. That was quite good for black, honestly. So now, I don't have enough time, have to be quick, and let's say this way. Weakens d5, but reactivates my bishop, which is important. This capture on e5 was strange. In my opinion, it's much better for white to keep the tension. c4 weakens d4 seriously, and I'm ready to occupy it, so I consider it a serious mistake. Let's go here. All of a sudden, just all previous play was completely justified. Look, my pieces now occupy very good squares. Very good. Okay, let's prevent bishop h3. And now it's time to prepare something like f5 at some point. Maybe just like this. What was that? That was probably my mistake. Oops, this one. Come on. Oops. That was very generous. That was a very big blunder. Yeah, I was lucky enough by the end of the game, so opponent just gave me a lot of opportunities. And the real story started after, I guess, d takes e5. That was probably a serious mistake. So I didn't play very aggressively in the opening stage, but d takes e5 was definitely bad. So after that, I don't think I have problems. So after d takes e5, I'm just fine. Maybe there was a possibility, of course, to try b4 here. And after that, position is not that simple to evaluate immediately. But I can do some tricks. For example, I can protect e5 pawn. So first of all, b4, the point is to control c5 square and to grab some space on the queen side. As for my tricks, I want to do something like knight b6, probably provoking white to play a5, where after I just go back to d7, let's say, and come up with a c6, c5 undermining move, and I'm completely fine. So in the long run, I think my bishop will be better than that on f1, because I will definitely try to and there was a question, did Andre remove queen g2? Yeah, we will come back to that moment. Yes, I removed queen g2 because there was a possibility, of, as far as I remember, for white to come back with the queen to g2. But all right. So I can't play c5 immediately because my b5 pawn is hanging. So that's why I want to play something like knight b6, provoking white to make a decision about taking on b5, which is not that great for white, or playing a5, which is also not that great because I have this c6, c5. But still it was interesting. So after b4, there is no clear way for black to come up with this plan, because first I have to protect e5. I don't want to play f6 for this, because this weakens g6 and light squares in general on the king side, and so on. So this position is not that clear. Maybe it is more or less balanced. By the way, if I'm not in a rush, white has also a plan. So I can play knight b3 and then knight to a5. So I have to make a decision quickly here. Don't know. Maybe everything is just fine for white. Maybe even more than fine. So bishop g2 definitely gives me an opportunity to play c5, and now c4 is another serious mistake. So after b4, white is just in a very passive position. I have already protected passed pawn on d4. My bishop is much better than that on g2. I have this great outpost and so forth. So the rest was just playing very quick in a time trouble. So I can imagine there were a lot of different mistakes from both sides. And the last moment was here after rook f2. Yeah, I removed queen g2 because there was a possibility to play queen g2. Yeah, that's why. So in any case, as for the opening stage, I think that there are a lot of different ways how to react to this b5, but I really prefer something connected with the a4, just undermining this pawn immediately, or maybe c4 with the same idea. You know, that is just my taste. I do like exploiting this early pawn moves this way, because inevitably after that there are some weaknesses to attack, so maybe some weak squares or maybe some ugly pawns and so forth. But okay, bishop d3, I can't actually say anything bad about this. Bishop d3, it was a very natural thing. But here, somewhere after rook e1, bishop e7, bishop g5. Well, first of all, bishop g5 is maybe not that great. But okay, bishop g5 is still playable. Castles, knight e2, d6, c3, knight e7. So here, I thought a4 will be played. So here, 100% it was completely justified because I don't have b4 anymore. And almost every decision that I make here will be quite ugly. So if I take on a4, I just damage my own pawn structure. I will have this bad pawn on a6. If I play this c6, intending to play e5, you can play e5 now. So after this e5, d takes e5, d takes e5, let's say knight goes to d5, I can't see any better square. Bishop takes e7, queen e7, knight jumps to e4. Everything is just very good for white because I just played c6, weakening d6 square, and the knight is going to occupy it sooner or later. Maybe it will be not that simple. For example, after, let's say, rook d8, just for instance, knight e6 and bishop a8, there will be a threat of knight takes e5. And I'm not sure that white will have a clear defense against it. But you are not forced to occupy this d6 right away. You can prepare everything carefully. And I think here white should be better. That's my opinion. So maybe this d6 followed by knight e7 wasn't that sound. All right, let's go further. Here is Azure Mist. Let's play Azure Mist. White pieces. So let's continue our experiments. And as far as I remember, you said that in chat exactly, that g4 should be played on the move 1. So here it is. d5. All right, let's remember the childhood. I used to play this many years ago. Of course, not in normal games, but in Blitz exclusively. And as far as I remember, I played this only 10 times, maybe in general. So c4. Attack in the center. There is one interesting guy, Orest Vovk from Kiev. If I'm not mistaken, he is a master, but I don't remember international master or FIDE master or national master. Maybe he has several titles. So he plays this g4 exclusively with white, and he's quite successful. So, yeah. It's just really hard to play against him usually with black, unless you know the theory perfectly, which is quite hard, because when you deal with Grob attack, you simply don't want to spend the time, even a single minute, in learning something like this from black's perspective, right? All right. There is an article which states that best for black is g4, e5, bishop, g2, h5. Yeah, it's true, but after g4, e5, experienced Orest Vovk plays h4, preventing this h5. I mean, there is not so easy to use the vulnerability of h4 after that. So if h5, then g5, and nothing happens, in fact. All right, let's take on d5. So at least I create an object of attack. So now queen b3 makes sense, I think. Attacking this d5. Let's play it. In one of the games, by the way, I blundered the bishop on c1. So that was probably something like 18 years ago. So there was a tournament, a blitz tournament, and some strange kids simply played against each other, and one guy simply played queen c7 or something, and I thought, come on, he just loses the pawn on d5, let's grab it. I took on d5, and then he took on c1, which forces me to exchange queens, by the way. So I was a minor piece down in the endgame stage, and well, that was very hard for me, but I won that game. So white isn't taking the pawn on g4 because of the same. So if bishop takes g4, there is c4 usually with some counterplay along this diagonal, and b7 is usually hanging. But bishop g4, as far as I remember, is absolutely playable in general. So it was possible to take. So now, knight c3, continuing the attack against d5. The question, which loss brought tears to your eyes, Andre? Well, if we are talking about more or less serious loss, there was an interesting tournament. I was kind of 2200s plus at that moment. I was playing the GM tournament. I was kind of, yeah, losing game after game. At the same time, I managed to win several games, to make several interesting draws against higher rated players. And there was a situation in which I should have scored something like 1.5 out of 3 last games. And I was absolutely winning in one of these games. And I lost. And yeah, that was exactly that kind of loss that brought tears to my eyes. I was so close because, yeah, would I have won? I needed just to make a draw in 2 games, which was absolutely realistic to become an international master. Not to become an international master, but to make my first norm at that moment. Yeah, that was also many years ago. Okay, let's forget about it. Knight g6. I think I can just take on d5 with the bishop attacking f7 and b7. There was a question, is bishop e6 possible in that position? I think one move ago or something, but b7 was hanging. But maybe that was still playable, don't know. Queen c7, okay, it's too late to win the bishop on c1 because it is already protected, right? So there is no problem with this bishop, so my knight is free to go somewhere. Do I want to go somewhere with the knight? That is another question. Because if I play knight b5, alright, queen goes to b6 or somewhere. I don't achieve anything. Maybe it's just a good moment to protect the pawn on g4, but I don't want to protect it, come on. And it's not hanging, in fact, because b7 is still under pressure. So most likely, d3 is a move here, a normal move. Covering f4 square. Does it make sense or not? Or just e3 preparing knight e2. Because black's next move will be probably knight to c6, creating a threat of knight d4. So maybe I will need something to cover d4. And e3 is very efficient because I cover both f4 and d4. So I kind of limit both knights with one pawn move. Not sure. Let's do it. Just e3 covering f4 and d4, and if knight c6 protecting b7 pawn, I will probably just play g5 or h3 or something like that. But after this, I would already seriously consider something like h4, h5. So let's do it. So I want to play h5, and then the knight will be forced somewhere to e7, in which case I take on f7, and if h5 here, then g5. Alright. And h5 may be my object of attack, so let's develop the pieces and attack it. Let's say this way. Bishop g4. I can even play f3 if I want here. But let's start with this move, just blockading e5 and attacking the knight g6. Preventing e5, e4. Knight f4, really? Something strange, but probably completely justified because of the situation on the clock. Alright, I will play this. And I will take the bishop. Okay, it's time to break through light squares. So I'm a minor piece up, but I'm in a serious time trouble and position is rather complicated. But I hope I will manage. Black is also in a time trouble. Let's avoid taking that knight. Just don't want this additional complications. Let's take it. Take it. Now check. Taking the bishop on c5. Alright. I don't need this bishop on the board. Yeah. Two minor piece up, and if there is an attack along the f file, I have knight e4 at very least covering f2. My other knight covers f1, rook covers f1, so already a safe position. So, g4, how to react to this g4, I have no idea. So, after d5, bishop g2, the only play is based on this c4, but I think that bishop g4 is absolutely playable here. As far as I remember, after c4, black has something simple to protect everything. Maybe there is also a contra gambit, something like c6, offering white to take here, and then something like knight f6, and if d takes c6, then knight c6, black has just a perfect development. The main idea, the main trap here that black has to avoid is after cd5, not here, but after bishop takes g4, so c4, c6, cd5, cd5, and queen b3, that is the main line. So probably here something like knight c6, I don't remember, with some counter-attack, using d4 square and so forth. So here black should avoid playing e6, protecting the pawn, because here queen a4 wins a piece. That is the only trap that is possible, in fact. Maybe there are some additional traps, but you shouldn't ask me about that. You should rather ask Orest Wolf. So after bishop g2, e5, c4, c6, cd5, cd5, and queen b3, I already have some initiative, right? Because d5 is under attack. There is some sort of trouble with the b7. So if d4, I can take on b7, and so forth. If knight f6, I just play g5. That's why probably black played knight e7, but then knight c3, attacking this pawn, and if bishop e6, I just take on b7 again. But probably it was interesting to try. So bishop e6 protecting the pawn. I take on b7, otherwise my play isn't justified. And then knight goes to d7, something like this, or maybe knight c6, I don't know what is better. But I have a feeling that the king is really surrounded with pieces, and there should be something after knight b5, for example, creating a threat of knight d6, knight c7, queen takes a8, and so forth. So I'm not sure that black has a satisfactory defense after that. So maybe knight d7 is too much, but knight c6 looks like a playable option. But still, this knight b5 may be annoying. After that, probably rook to c8 is a move, and so forth. Yeah. Okay. So, interesting game. As for position after bishop d5, I think I'm already better. So there are numerous ways to deal with this situation, because I'm better developed. I have extra pawn and so forth. So there are some complications, of course, but as you can see, I control the situation perfectly. So the rest is not very interesting. Let's go further. Thanks a lot for this game. Let's play Lagamura. Here we go. And white pieces. Okay, what to try? Let's play a3. It's not necessarily a bad move, because there may be a transposition to different other lines. So I'll try something like this. I want to play c4, and we have sort of, Taimanov reversed, if there will be an exchange of pawns c4 and d5, in fact. But after d4, okay, there is no Taimanov anymore, and I have to think of what to do with the center. So I'll play knight f3 attacking the center. And most likely I will just take on d4 very soon. Lost brother of Nakamura. Okay. That was funny. Okay, bishop g4. So every time when I see the bishop on g4, I want to attack b7. There is a possibility to play queen b3 now with a double attack against b7 and e5 pawn. There is also a possibility to start with h3, then g4, bishop g6, and knight takes e5, which looks risky, but maybe playable. Maybe still playable. I don't really know what is better. I will try queen to b3 move. Just unpinning my knight. e4 is still not very good because if knight takes d4, and b7 is hanging, and e5 is hanging, and after bishop f3, g takes f3, I have pair of bishops, which is already kind of achievement. Queen here. And there is a question if I can play bishop h3 here. That's an interesting thing. So bishop h3, queen takes h3, queen takes b7, protecting f3 by the way. And the rook is lost there, but maybe black has something to compensate it. I'm not sure. It feels like bishop h3 is absolutely playable now. Let's try it. Maybe I missed something, but right now it looks like absolutely playable deflection. The question, don't you fear queen b3, bishop takes g takes damage in the pawn structure? Well, if I have pair of bishops usually for damage the pawn structure, I'm not afraid in the vast majority of cases. Of course, it depends on this pawn structure. So sometimes the pawn structure is so ugly that, of course, pair of bishops doesn't change anything. But here you can see light squares became very weak, and my light squared bishop already did something. So let's take. And I think black wants to put this knight e7 to c6. Very nice. All right. I definitely have serious problems now with the development. b4, queen takes f3. I don't like this. So I will start with queen b7. Just going away from that position in the corner and controlling new squares, attacking c7, and so forth. Now, don't even know what should be played. So rook to g1 looks more or less safe move. Yeah, let's play rook to g1 at the moment. Feels like a natural decision, just going away from this position on h1, controlling the g file, which may be very helpful. The bishop f8 goes away. And I have to do something with the queen side. So I probably need something like b4 move, for example, right now, but there is bishop h4. So maybe queen c8 check should be played. Bringing the queen finally to a safe square, being able at least to protect the flank. And queen g4, right? By the way, the same was possible against d3 move. So queen c8, queen g4, protecting e2 square. But after d3 there was also knight to c3 protecting e2. So now I have kind of extra exchange, right? Still some problems with development, but at least it is an endgame stage, but maybe not my advantage. Right, now it's time to do something with the pawn structure to complete the development somehow. First, I want to cover my light squared weaknesses. So d3, most likely intending to play e4 at some point. We'll see if it is possible. f4. Okay, I think to take or not to take, that is a good question, because if I take on f4, there is e5 square for the knight. I don't want it. I don't want it, so I'll play e4. Maybe not that great for my bishop and for my rooks in general, because I want to open up a position sooner or later, but I don't want this knight to become extremely active and attack my f3 and d3. That's why I didn't take on f4. That's why I didn't take on d4. Okay, there is a threat of a4, alright? So, to ignore it or not? It's a good question. Probably not. Now the knight is going to c5, right? My god, I'm playing like a patter here. So, absolutely not developed, but it feels like it is still okay. So I protect everything here, just for now. It's important to protect d3 from a safe square, because e2 wasn't safe because of this f3. And now maybe black runs out of ideas. Maybe not. So bishop goes to h4, right? Shit. It's really annoying to play this position with white. I'm just protecting myself. I'm doing nothing active here. But black also creates some weaknesses, so... First of all, let's put the bishop on d2. The point is to have a defender of f2 square, so to protect the pawn. And now knight goes to d2, attacking f3. And I'm fine, absolutely. So I complete my development, I grab this pawn f3 and gradually start winning the game, finally. So takes, and b4 next move. And that's it. It is just the start of the end for black. Whew. My strategy appeared not that bad in this game. So b5 or rook a6. Rook a6 is probably a move. Now what? Let's play c5. Rook a8. Forcing the knight back to e6. No? Okay. Thank you. So... yeah, interesting game. So it was very risky, of course, to play this way, just giving my opponent so active position, but feels like I was more or less fine after bishop h3, queen h3, queen b7, takes and queen b7. That was very important to bring the queen back. Otherwise, it would have been just a disaster. So after queen b7, I have these tricks based on this queen c8, queen c7, so maybe queen b5, just bringing the queen back to the normal square. The only thing I thought I would have, just more chances to come up with this b4, b5 quickly. But then I realized after bishop e7, there is already a threat of bishop h4, really annoying. Maybe it was better for me just to bring the rook to this bad square f1, but to play then b4, b5 quickly, because d3 is not a real threat. At least it doesn't feel like a real threat. So if d3, then knight c3, protecting e2. And I'm more or less fine here, right? And there is no chance for black to challenge my knight c3, at least at the moment. Was still a bit worrying. Because my queen is still out of play. So maybe queen b3, queen d1 after that, don't know. But after rook g1, definitely there was no chance for me to play b4 because of this bishop h4 threat. That's why I played this quickly, queen c8, queen g4, simplifying the position, and after that I was feeling fine, but maybe here I made several mistakes in addition to what I've already done. I don't know. d3 looked very natural just to prevent this imprisoning of my dark squared bishop, but then after f5 and f4, I decided not to take on f4. Maybe that was a mistake. I have no idea. But after all this, even after all this activation and so forth, looks like I have just enough resources to protect everything, right? So I'm just in time. Everything is fine. Okay, interesting game. Very interesting one. So, what was wrong, in fact? I think bishop g4 is a dubious decision. I don't see the reason to play bishop g4 here, weakening the b7 pawn. It was much more natural just to play knight c6, I guess. Already creating a threat of e4, by the way. So white has to make a decision what to do, to play e4 or maybe to play d3. In either case, black is fine. So for example, if I play d3 here, then just a5 prevented b4, then bishop goes to c5. Black has very natural way of developing the pieces and so forth. So come on, that was interesting. That was interesting for black. I don't like bishop g4 idea. Okay, so so let's go further and let's play banter. Did we play before? No. At least here we didn't play. So going to something more normal maybe. d6. So Fox says here, I had a +3 position against Kramnik student yesterday, and then I lost in an imaginary time pressure. What a pity. This time pressure is actually very annoying, especially when you play the tournament game. You can't even imagine how many games I lost in a time pressure. How many winning positions I just spoiled in a time trouble. My goodness. So what did I want to do here? I wanted to play a6, so kind of more in defense, so sort of mix. So the question, so here theoretically I could actually challenge Andre, not like on c24, be non-prim and such. Yeah, you can challenge me, of course. You can even challenge me on chess24. No problems. But, well, on chess24 I don't play non-premiums. But challenges are not prohibited in general. So bishop g7. So honestly, I prefer to lose on time instead of losing because of a blunder, says Zweifelsachs. Losing is very bad in general. So okay, bishop e3, b5. That is what I wanted to play. Another interesting comment: in tournament games I used to spoil everything and move 40. Yeah, move 40 is kind of, yeah, a big move, a move of great decisions or probably worst possible decisions. There are usually two options. Well, sometimes you can just give additional check and nothing really happens, but I don't know why, but this control move is usually a big problem. Bishop d3. All right, knight goes to d7. The question, Andre, do you play on chess.com? Yes, I do play on chess.com. Not very often though, but yeah. And maybe tomorrow I will play this Title Tuesday if there is the one. There should be the one, right? I'll try. But this will happen only after Training Tuesday, my weekly premium show on chess24. And you're welcome. But to take part, you have to be a premium user. Take it into account. On the other hand, it's worth doing. So at first glance, white does nothing wrong here, just developing the pieces on natural squares, but is it really good against what black does in this position? Because now it doesn't feel like white has a suitable defense of the d4 pawn which means that black probably solves some central problems, just exchanging this pawn d4. Because, for instance, if white plays something like knight a2 here, just play c5, c4, trapping the bishop. My god. Move 41 is even worse when you are not sure of your move count. Oh yeah, that is true. Very nice. Okay, knight takes c5 or d takes c5. I think both are playable, and I don't even know what to play here. Let's try knight takes c5 because my queen on d8 is protected, so there is no tactics based on bishop c5, dc5, and knight b5 or bishop b5. So why not knight c5, occupying this active position, and then maybe taking the bishop even, and again having pair of bishops and so forth. Rook e1. Can I play b4, or it will be just too much for this stage of the game? So b4, the idea is simple. I want to grab e4 pawn, but it's too risky. The knight goes to a4, b4 is hanging, and if I take on e4, bishop e4, bishop b4, bishop goes to b6, attacking my queen, then e4 drops. So I don't even win anything here after b4. So instead, what to do instead? Knight to f6, knight takes d3, rook to c8 are all possible candidate moves. As well as queen c7, but queen c7 allows knight to d5. Don't want to give my opponent a chance to occupy d5 square with the tempo, opening the e file where the rook e1 already is. So knight f6. Then e5. But then what? Okay, let's start with knight takes d3 to make it simple. And now knight goes to f6. Come on. Let's just keep developing the pieces. Castles next, and then something d5, or maybe e5 first, and then d5, or maybe b4, and then d5. There are a lot of different possibilities. We will see which one is going to be the most promising. To put the rook on c8 or not, or just to play e5 followed by d5. I have no idea. Let's try it. Bishop h6, okay. Maybe it's not a bad idea for me to exchange dark squared bishops since I played e5. I'm no longer that interested in keeping this bishop on the board. So my opponent can simply grab it, but the question is, what is next? So let's put the rook on e8, intending d6, d5 at some point. Maybe even on the next move. The white is pretty solid at the moment. Not sure if it is possible. So, no time, by the way. That was a perfect time management for my opponent because he didn't create serious weaknesses. And I'm just in the real-time trouble. For the first time today, by the way. Because position is still not clear. Maybe I have slightly better chances here, maybe not. Let's simplify a bit. This way, for instance. Okay. Now it became clearer, but what to do? Here. Just get into the center. D5. All right. Central strategy. Here is the pawn. Don't know what to do here. Yeah, lost some time, but position should be gradually winning. Maybe it's a draw, of course, but only black has chances, 100%, because of the extra pawn and so forth. So what did you tell me about losing position on time, a winning position on time? That is exactly what happened, come on. So stop this topic, please, because I will just lose each and every position on time. Because it looks like what you say actually happens on the board after that. So, e4, d6, this modern defense, well, I think that if white has a chance, it's better to prevent b7, b5. Because after I play b5, I have some pressure on the center, and after c5, I believe I have no problems, simply. Most likely, d takes c5 was slightly more ambitious move here, preparing c4, grabbing the space, followed by b4, maybe knight c5 at some point. But this knight c5 is also good, so it leads to sort of Sicilian, right? So now it's kind of Dragadorf or something. So both bishops are fianchettoed. I have this pressure on central position, and so on. So maybe e5 was not necessary here. Most likely it wasn't necessary, so it was better for me to think of something like rook c8 at some point, queen to a5, or maybe just something like rook e8 to start with, right? So this typical dragon move to save this bishop on the board. So this bishop h6 is not that dangerous potentially, but well, if there is a chance to save this bishop, maybe it makes sense to do this. Maybe not, I don't know. There was also an interesting try for me to play knight g4 right here. Also not sure if it gives me anything. So maybe I'm slightly better here, maybe not. Interesting game, so my opponent didn't make a serious mistake. And actually, I lost on time, after all. Okay, so I'm going to play 2 more games, and it will be just it for tonight. Let us play Fuchsia. Let us play Fuchsia, because we didn't play for a long time. 7 minutes, come on. All right, just to avoid the time trouble, right? Okay, what to do in the sense of experimenting? Let's play e3. Yeah. c6. Okay, b4. Very strange approach, but it is kind of Sokolsky, right? A transposition to one of the lines. Interesting. So let's control e5 square, preventing e7, e5. c5. Okay. So it can be sort of achievement for me, so black played c6 and c5. Instead of playing c5 immediately from c7. I'm not sure, I can use it somehow, so let's just undermine the center heavily with pawns. I have sort of advantage in development, so maybe I'll get the chance to exploit it somehow. Okay, I will grab the central pawn. I think it is a good exchange for me. I've just exchanged the side pawn for the central one. In the vast majority of cases, it is a good thing to do. All right, let's ask the bishop a question. And I think there is only one answer, and probably not this one. Because now, look at light squares. Light squares are mess. And I have a light square bishop. And this bishop on b2 is really annoying, so it exerts a direct pressure on g7, preventing black from easy development. So my god. Maybe just losing on the spot. So for example, bishop goes to b5 check, forcing the knight to d7. There is no rook c1, fortunately. So what about e5 right now? Yes, I like this idea. So I want to play e6 next move. And I can play e6 anyway. With two threats, taking on d7 and queen f7 and e takes f7 with the checkmate. Alright. Is there a checkmate? No, there is no checkmate, but I can grab serious material after bishop takes d7. Yeah. It's lost already. So, what was the reason black lost so early? After e3, c6 was probably pre-moved, because maybe my opponent expected e4, and well, it is just a well-known story on Chess24. Each and every banter blitz shelling forward plays c6 against me, and we have this battle in Caracan, and I usually struggle with white pieces. So that was probably the try to trick me this way, but there was e3. b4, strange decision, but against c6 it all of a sudden starts making sense, because I have a chance to challenge this pawn, and I prepare development of the bishop on b2. So d5, all right, absolutely playable thing, but once again, against everything connected with bishop going to b2, I would definitely prefer e5, and maybe even something rock solid like d6, just limiting the activity of that guy on b2. So d5 is kind of justifies my development, but still it was possible, having the pawn on c6, to try something tricky like queen b6. Typical idea in Sokolsky, just attacking b4, maybe even a7, a5, undermining this pawn and trying to damage my pawn structure and so forth. That was probably what should have been played, because knight d7 is just too passive. And after knight d7 I play knight f3, still this a5 is playable, I guess, but c5 is already wrong direction in my opinion, because it is a clear loss of time. So I just played c4. Here I expected something like d5 takes c4, or maybe something like d4, but in each and every case I think I'm more or less fine, I benefit from this. But d5 takes c4 looks still natural, because this gives me a good central pawn, and even if black undermines this pawn at some point, I can take it, and then another pawn occupies central square, so surprisingly, starting the game with e3 and b4, I kind of grab the full control in the center. That's the point, right? Okay, so after bishop g4, h3, there is an interesting line, bishop h5, which leads to bishop b5 check, forcing knight d7, now g4, bishop here, and that gets to e5 with the absolutely winning position. Because after knight f6, there is what? Maybe it is not that winning, in fact, but I guess there is something like knight takes d7. No, knight takes d7 doesn't work. I mean, after g5, there is still something after a6. Maybe it's not that lost for black. I thought it would be just lost. Okay, so what about just knight takes g6, take g6 and e5 instead? Well, here's still a6 counterattack. But here I just play bishop a. Okay, here it is possible even to take on d5, so it doesn't work 100%. All right. So maybe after g4, bishop g6, I can do something else. Not sure. If queen a4, then still a6. Knight e5, knight here. If I play queen a4, okay, still a6 is possible. Maybe this position is still possible to play with black. In any case, I have good center, so At very least, I can do something like even f3 here, I guess. Just protecting this e4 pawn, and these pawns are great. And if black gets rid of this pin with the help of this, okay, this we can c6 square, and after knight c6 I should be better, but after f3, well, there's a trick with queen c7 and queen g3. Yeah, so the position is not that simple to play, so maybe instead of that, d3 is more accurate, just protecting the pawn, yeah, with the same idea. Just exploiting the great center here, gradually, yeah. But bishop f3 simply leaves black without great defender of light squares, and I just benefit immediately. Here is the only defense, the move e6, I think, where after I have very pleasant choice between taking on e6 and then taking on b7 or playing d6. So I wanted to try something like this, so just, yeah, have an enormous advantage in space and so forth. All right. So, most likely the last game for today. It was a pleasure to play against you. Let's play home. Let's play crowning student. Okay. Oh, very nice. Light square battle, bishop g6 asking for an oxygen mask. Wow. Very good. Yeah, very good explanation. Maybe one day we'll write a chess book together. Oh, what am I doing? I was supposed to experiment, and what am I doing? All right, let's come back to experimental mode. Yeah. Just a momentary lapse of reason, and I forgot what I was supposed to do here. So, okay. Fortunately, I came back quickly to experiments. And by the way, h5, h4, this slightly strange idea which allowed white to take on h4 with the knight if he wanted, actually worked well. So now I have the h file which is open, which means I have to try to castle long somehow. So for this reason I would just develop the knight c6. Controlling central squares d4, e5, and if cd5 I'm going to take with the queen, if I'm not losing anything, but I think I don't. Yeah, now my queen jumps directly to h5, which starts looking very dangerous, by the way. Queen a4. Okay. There is no checkmate, unfortunately, at least right away. But maybe there is after bishop, what? Bishop h3 or bishop g4. Yeah, bishop g4 looks very natural here. It is a tempo move creating a threat of bishop takes f3 followed by a checkmate, which probably forces white to go away with the rook from f1. Or maybe put the knight on h4. That is also a playable option. But if knight goes to h4, I can come back with the bishop to d7, protecting my knight on c6, and this knight on h4 looks very strange. There is also an opportunity for me to play g5 after knight h4, in which case bishop c6, bc6, queen c6, and king d8, queen a8, king d7 leads to, yeah, just a messy position. I'm not sure if it is good. But okay, let's put the bishop on g4 because I want to prevent queen h4. There is also g5 opportunity. Come on, why didn't I play g5? That was also a move. But all right. Whew. Interesting. So yeah, not taking on h4 completely justified my h5, h4 bluff. Another interesting thing. Hello, doctor. My H file is aching. Come on. Can you please join each and every broadcast? Because your comments are really great. Thanks a lot for this. So rook e1. What does it mean? It means that bishop f3 is possible, but it leads to nothing. So I can occupy h2, king goes to f1, where after what? There is no follow-up, so there is no checkmate. So I have to castle, I guess, to bring the rook to attack. And also to unpin my knight. So yeah, I guess it is a good idea. I might get killed, says Kramnik students in chat. My friend, you have the time for everything. You're playing and typing in chat. And you are ahead in a sense of time on the clock. What's wrong with me? Am I that old that I can't do several things simultaneously, or what is going on? So now, knight e4, rook d4. There are so many interesting opportunities, but I don't know which one is better. And I have a feeling that I'm missing something really simple here. So knight e4, knight e4, queen h2, king f1, bishop h3. Is it playable? Yes, it's playable. Let's do it. I don't care. Maybe I lose on the spot after that. But at the moment it looks like a good idea. That is also a tempo move, right? So I attack f3. If there is no checkmate, at least I can take on f3 several times, winning the pawn. I have no idea. Interesting position. I have no idea. Am I losing or winning, or what is going on? Okay, knight h4. Knight h4 instead of everything. Instead of accepting my sacrifice. Which is probably good. Which is probably good for white, just for now. Let's just protect this. And again, I'm in a serious trouble. In a serious time trouble. Didn't play g5 just because queen a7 was scaring me. I should have played faster. I should have played this knight d4, spending less time. Because now is exactly the critical moment. And there may be something annoying. Okay. Finally e5, developing the dark squared bishop. And I'm more or less ready for this move, I guess. Queen a5, okay, let's protect the c7. Takes. Takes or not. Just ignoring this shit. Don't know. Let's take. 2 minor piece up. And at the moment looks like my king is running through the center. Okay. Now safe square on e7. Right, let's take here. Check. And now what? I won. Okay. I was fortunate. But I think, in fact, I was winning here. So let's see if I had anything after knight e4. But after knight went to h4, I was already much better. But, well, let's see. So where is the moment? Knight e4. Was it correct or not? No, knight e4 is, according to the engine, it is a serious mistake. So instead of that, what was better? Tell me. Knight e4. Rook d4 was better. What is the point? So if knight takes d4, where is the checkmate? Queen h2, right? Or what is going on? Maybe I'm stupid and I don't see something really simple here. So king here, where is the checkmate? So bishop h3, check. Oh, okay, queen h3, and that's it. So after bishop h3, white has to do what? To play something like e3. Yeah, probably e3. Or after, it's not clear to me. So maybe something like this, then knight g4, but it's just like an engine play, I don't understand. If there is a checkmate, there should be something, of course, but don't know. Yeah. So I played knight to d4, which he says is not very good, but still black is better, right? So knight h4, I played a6, bishop e3, I played e5. He says that g5 is better. Of course, yeah, when you can calculate, I don't know, 40, 50 moves in a row without emotions, it is an obvious decision, but for a human being in a time trouble, it was not that clear, so I decided to come up with some prophylaxis, and yeah, queen a5, bishop d6, everything was already fine. So I managed to protect everything, and I have a clear plan of just collecting white's pieces. But okay, what happened earlier? So I do believe that it was possible to take on h4, in fact. Yeah, so knight takes h4. And if I take on h4 with the rook, which was my original intention to damage the pawn structure, then g takes h4. And if compared to some classical examples, for example, the game of Alexander Halifman, I don't remember against whom, actually, but he was playing with black, and it was played in a Reti opening with c6, d5. So here, I guess it is slightly different because my knight is already on f6, so I don't have this direct access to h4 pawn to regain it. And I guess I can benefit from it, just putting the knight on f3 at some point and protecting this pawn. So I think black has some sort of compensation for this missing pawn in exchange, but well, exchange is still an exchange. in fact. And if I don't take on h4 with the rook and play something else, then it also feels like just an extra pawn for white. I don't think that black has a sufficient compensation here. But anyway, so thanks a lot for being with me this evening. The next planned activity is, as I said before, a training Tuesday tomorrow for Premium Chess24 members. Then there will be a banter blitz on Friday, and the next Learn from Chess Blitz show, episode number 10, will take place hopefully on Sunday, but once again it will be morning according to Central Europe time, so maybe 11, maybe 11:30, something like this. I have to do this next Sunday once again because at night I'll have some activities in Düsseldorf. I'm going to actually take my time and relax a bit, visiting one of the concerts of one of my favorite bands, White Lies, and that's why I won't actually come up with a night's show. But starting from the Sunday in 2 weeks, I think that we'll change the time, and I will try to do my best to start the shows well, somewhere around 7:30 or maybe 7 p.m. Central Europe time. I think it's better for everybody because there are a lot of people that join my shows from United States, for instance, and this timing, I mean 11 or 12, the first part of the day is probably not that great for them. Anyways, I'm waiting for your comments and for your suggestions about the best time you can imagine for Sunday, because for Monday it will be more or less this one, 7:30 p.m. Central Europe time. So leave your comments soon after the show ends, because once again, what you say in live chat remains in live chat, and I don't have the opportunity to read the live chat right after the show, so it will be better if you will leave the comments just after the show ends. Have a nice week. As for premium members of Chess24, see you tomorrow. Other guys, just join Chess24 as well. And also you can watch the show on Friday. It's for free, but you are not allowed to play there. So also if you want to play there, well, just buy the premium subscription. Yeah, I'm really satisfied with today's show because there were a lot of guys in live chat, a lot of interesting comments and so forth. I hope these experiments were not only funny to watch, but also some sort of instructive information was already here and was also delivered. I'm not sure, you tell me. Thanks a lot. See you. Bye bye.